in the beginning when you decided to pivot from your job, right? Like similarly to myself, engineering degree, and then I decided to pivot to become a DJ. There are people who will be like, okay, well, if you are doing this nightlife thing for like 5 to 10 years, right, and you decided that, okay, you know what, you want to call it quits or it's not working, right? It's probably impossible to go back to your original discipline, right? Because you also lack the work experience and everything. Yeah, what gave you the confidence to like continue this like path of nightlife, since it's like firstly so unstable, secondly full of people that can or cannot be trusted. Nightlife is, standard is quite working with a lot of sleazy people. You only can have like 10% of the people that is in your tribe and you stick with them. What gave you the confidence to continue? Or is it simply, I love it, and then you just do it?
Honestly speaking, I think it was simply, I love it. And I wanted to do it. And my father was an entrepreneur. He was completely into risk. And I think I never, but if I'm really honest with you, Leonard, I never sat down and said, should I be doing this? I just went with it. And, I lived for the day and I made the most of it. And all my friends went into be surveyors and bankers and lawyers and everything else. I just remember in the first 10 years of my career, they were all saying, I wish I'd done that. And I have a friend who I remember coming to a club that I was working at, and he was in his late 20s and he was already making $1 million a year. What? And we were both standing on two different sides of it, right? Where I moved into nightlife, that definitely wasn't going to pay me $1 million a year. And he was a banker broker who was making $1 million a year. And he turned to me and said, how do I do what you do? And I said, why on earth would you ask me that? And he said, bro, I hate what I do. I hate it. But it pays me a large sum of money. And I just don't want to do it anymore. And so it's really interesting, right? I pursued the passion. I've always in my entire life pursued passion. I believe in a sense of purpose, and I'm not motivated to do things that I don't believe in. So even the mundane task of working in a startup, the accounting, the bookkeeping, it still serves within my passion. So I still will do it with energy. But I never wanted to do a career. I never wanted to pursue something that I didn't believe in. I think that's something that is really essential. So you ask, it was never about a risk calculation of the world I was going into. I knew there were a lot of gangsters that did it. I knew there were a lot of people you can't trust. But then there's 1 million people you can't trust in banks, my friend. You look at Wall Street, etc. There's 1 million people you can't trust, full stop.
Yeah.
But I just knew that, okay, I fell in with very good people, which is a good start. Amazing guy in London called John Stephen, his business partner Jeremy Harley, two of the very best of the best in London, legends of the scene, took me under their wing, opened their black book to me, and really taught me amazing things. So I was lucky. I didn't. But then I met a lot of shady people. And in London, it's infinitely more dangerous than, let's say, Singapore. So you have to learn fast. But I must be honest, I never sat there and said, right. And I never actually said to myself, if I stay in stockbroking, I could have a much better income or anything. I didn't care. And to this day, I still don't. I just knew that this is my passion. And because it was my passion, I put 110% into it. And it was, followed a successful path. And I think that too many people get distracted by wealth and income and then pursue a path they're not really passionate about. And they never succeed as fully because you wake up in the morning and you're like, I can't be bothered. I can't be bothered to do that extra step because I don't really like it. And as it happens, that guy years later quit his job and then traveled the world with his wife and has continued doing so. And so eventually you will not get to that crossroads if you're lucky enough and you don't have overbearing responsibilities that prevent you from doing so, and say, I want to do what makes me happy. And now he has done that. And I really, I guess, satisfied to say that in my career, I've always done something that makes me happy.
Yeah, I have a very similar encounter like yourself. Right now, I think this year is DJing for 15 years already. By the 10-year mark, my engineering group chat is full of people working for Singapore Powers, DS, D-Stars. Like, yo,
ST Engineering.
I hate my job, man. ST Logistics Zone, freaking hell. I hate my job, all trying to quit and all that kind of thing. Yeah, and I also have friends that are from banking as well that come to the club and ball out, and they're just like the way they drink is like they are drinking their sorrows away, that kind of vibe. Yeah. So obviously we are earning less money in them, but then the thing is like, I guess that's the trade-off, you know. Like we are more focused on the process, and then they decided that the end game was more important. But then I guess before they reached the end game, they were like so sick and tired of that.
So there's a fascinating principle called the hedonist treadmill. The hedonist treadmill, if you're not familiar with it, is that you start at a certain stage, and there is a definition of income that provides you with comfort. Comfort might be one holiday a year, a car, roof over your head, 3 square meals, enough to survive and enjoy a basic life, right?
Yeah.
And then you earn a bit more, therefore your tastes increase. And by increasing what is your basic car to a more luxury model.
Yeah.
But in doing so, it pushes your financial requirements slightly higher.
Yeah.
And therefore you need to keep earning in order to keep improving. And then you see your friend has a slightly better car and you suddenly feel embarrassed by your car. So then you go out and you earn a little bit more income and then you get that greater car, right? But the problem is those payments that you're making prevent you from taking a step back. And so what you end up doing is chasing the tail of your tastes instead of having that basic comfort life. And I found that today, and the internet helps you to understand this more, because you hear these stories now, people are seeking the basic life over the more. You talk about the guy drinking away his sorrows, right?
Yeah.
I think it's more prevalent today than ever that once you have a level of comfort, and I must stress that comfort, not poverty, right? Poverty, you cannot have this luxury. But once you have this level of comfort, it's actually more preferable to have a more basic life, a more simple life, and enjoy and have the deep breath to be happy than it is to have millions and be miserable. And I think it's more prevalent today than it ever has been. And you summed it up. And I think to be DJ for 15 years is incredible. You've been giving people amazing experiences for 15 years. You've been playing music that people love. You've been making people happy for 15 years, right? You're not a DJ in my, you're a composer to a room. And I always found that a DJ is the composer to an enjoyable night out. How you structure your set structures the highs and lows of the evening. It's how Ferry Corsten described it to me. It's basically you are taking people on a journey where you're taking them to highs, you're allowing them to conserve energy with a slight drop in tempo, then you take them up and down, and then they leave with this like huge hit of dopamine, this amazing excitement, this amazing joy. So you've been giving people joy for 15 years, but there's many people who sit in an office staring at a screen, making good money, but they're not touching or affecting anyone else. And I think the phrase that I can't say I live my life by, but it really resonates with me is when we all go, people would discuss not what we had, but how did we impact other people. I genuinely believe that, right? And it's how, and you will have had a career where you've impacted thousands of people in ways that you don't even know. There's people in that room that are struggling with life's battles, and you've provided a set that has given them immense joy for 2 hours. So you have given them the tools to have an incredible night with their friends.
Yeah.
And you don't know the positive domino effect of what you've done. And I think it's incredible that you served that for 15 years. And I think it's something that's highly enviable. Whereas there are many other people that will never get to experience that, unfortunately. So you can have more money, but at the end of it, I've met many, many, many older people who all say the same thing, which is don't pursue trinkets, don't pursue wealth. Just
older people that says that?
Because once you get to a certain stage of life, I guess you're less reliant. You're not looking so far ahead.
Right.
When we're in our 20s, we are looking at, I think it goes short-term, long-term, short-term. Your thoughts. In your 20s, you're thinking about tomorrow.
Yeah.
Instant gratification. In your middle term, you're thinking long-term because you might have children, you might have other generations. You're a sandwich generation, you've got your parents to worry about, you've got children to worry about.
Yeah.
Then when you're older, you can only think of today because you don't know how many tomorrows you've got. And majority of all people, my father, I'll tell you this true story, my whole life, work harder, save money, work harder, don't be a bum, blah, 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 blah. And then he got a disease which affects his concentration and memory. And he said to me, "Are you happy?" And I said, when was this in your hierarchy of needs?
Yeah.
And he said, "No, Joe, don't get to a stage of life where you think, I'll do everything, I'll work myself to pieces until I retire. And then when you get to retirement, you're limited by other things." happiness is really key. And so it took it all in life. You know this. You have people tell you things. They go in one ear and out the other. And then something happens to you that invokes reflection, and through reflection, you realize something.
Yeah.
And it took him a long time to realize it. And so, man, if I could do what you did for 15 years, I'd be over the moon.
Wow. We need to like clip this part about how you are speaking about DJs, right? To send to all the DJs their parents. That's not what our parents think.
Their parents will listen to you.
Yeah, the parents are like, yo, what the hell?